Exploring Stories, SCP-096, The Shy Guy. Before many of you begin thinking it's the Shy Guy from Mario, no, I only wish he was this cute. Object Class, Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-096 is to be contained in its cell, a 5 by 5 by 5 meter airtight cube at all times. Weekly checks for any cracks or holes are mandatory. There are to be absolutely no video surveillance systems or optical tools of any kind inside its cell. Security personnel will use pre-installed pressure sensors and laser detectors to ensure SCP-096 is inside its cell. Any and all photos, videos, or recordings of SCP-096 and its likeness are strictly forbidden without approval from Dr. Redacted and the O5 Command. Description: SCP-096 is a humanoid creature measuring approximately 2.38 meters in height. Subject shows very little muscle mass, with preliminary analysis of its body mass suggesting mild malnutrition. Arms are grossly out of proportion with the rest of its body, with an approximate length of 1.5 meters each. Skin is mostly devoid of pigmentation, with no sign of any body hair. Its jaw can open to 4 times the normal of an average human. Other facial features remain similar to an average human, with the exception of the eyes. They are devoid of pigmentation. It is not yet known if SCP-096 is blind or not. It shows no sign of any higher brain function. It is not considered to be a sapient individual. It is normally extremely docile, with pressure sensors inside its cell indicating it spends most of the day pacing by its eastern wall. However, when someone views its face, whether directly, via video recording, or even a photograph, it will enter a stage of inconsiderable emotional distress. SCP-096 will then cover its face with its hands and begin to scream, cry, and babble incoherently. Approximately 1 to 2 minutes after the first viewing, it will begin to run to the person who viewed its face. Depending on the instance, the documented speed have varied from 35 kilometers to blank kilometers an hour. Reviewing this article, it seems to be 3 numbers, so I'm guessing anywhere between 100 and 200 kilometers an hour. It seems to depend on the distance of SCP-096 to the individual. At this point, no known material or method can impede SCP-096's progress. The actual position of it does not seem to affect its response. It seems to have an innate sense of where that individual's location is. This reaction does not occur when viewing an artistic depiction of its face. Upon arriving at the location of the individual who saw SCP-096, it will then proceed to kill them and data expunged. 100% of these cases have left no traces of the individual. SCP-096 will then sit down for several minutes before regaining its composure and becoming docile once again. It will then attempt to make its way back to its natural habitat. Data expunged of the location. Due to the possibility of a mass chain reaction, including breach of a Foundation secrecy and large civilian loss of life, retrieval of subject should be considered absolute alpha priority. Now, I had mentioned to you in my prior videos that the SCP Foundation stands for Secure, Contain, Protect. In this article, it also states that due to the possibility of a mass chain reaction, Dr. Blank has also petitioned for the immediate termination of SCP-096. Termination order has been approved and is to be carried out by Dr. Blank on blank date. That is insane. The SCP Foundation will rarely, if ever, neutralize an SCP, so this is quite shocking to me. And here's a little context as to why I think it's so crazy. There's actually a god deer in the SCP Foundation that's capable of destroying the entire world, and to keep it neutralized, they do some type of ritual in which they sacrifice like 5 infant babies and 5 human adults every 6 hours. So if you do that over a year, you get quite the amount of individuals being sacrificed to keep it docile. So the fact that the SCP Foundation would be willing to go this far is pretty unique. And since the SCP Foundation does actually have it posted here, the reason that led to the neutralization, we're going to go ahead and read that. Incident 096-1A. Let me see the security footage. A large steel cube is shown in the middle of a research lab, which is teeming with a dozen researchers or so. In view of the camera is a control booth displaying readings from the various sensors inside the cube. The control booth operator leans forward, alerted to the various readings on the sensors. Approximately 5 seconds later, the steel wall on the containment cube receives a sizable dent bending outwards. The dent becomes larger and larger before breaking. SCP-096 is bending the steel away, frantically trying to escape. Emergency plates are dropped on the cube as a containment breach is sounded across the site. 2 security teams enter the room as SCP-096 breaks out of its containment cell. Live rounds and tranquilizer darts are fired into it with no visible effect. Approximately 90% of the researchers and security personnel have now directly viewed its face, and a code lima is declared across the site. The room and surrounding areas are sealed and flushed away with a blank class nerve agent. Approximately 2 minutes later, SCP-096 breaches out of the research site and travels an undisclosed amount of kilometers through the desert. Moving forward here, we now move to the perspective of the MTF who are attempting to chase down SCP-096. The MTFs seem to have been chasing it for a couple of moments here, while the target is slowly getting faster. It appears that they begin shooting at it with regular rifles, dealing no damage to it. After a couple shots are fired and multiple shots are registered, they've realized it's not slowing down, but speeding up. As SCP-096 is sprinting, it is shot in the head multiple times, which then causes it to fall over, skid, roll several times before getting back on its feet and continuing its sprint. Now we're going to get into the direct conversation between the MTF and Big Brother. MTF-1. Ospreys are in the air. Moving to data expunged at data expunge speed. Awaiting vector. Big Brother. Electronics online, cruising altitude reached. Uploading program S.C.R.A.M.B.L.E to all camera systems nearby. Cameras online, Big Brother is now watching. MTF-1. What outbound vector is the target currently heading towards? Big Brother. Target is currently westbound, traveling on... Shit. Yeah, he's on the I-40. I think he just flipped a semi. Outbound vector is... degrees by... Next town on this vector is... Shit. I'd say a couple of 100 kilometers. MTF, we're suggesting Echo Romeo begin evacuating the I-40. I don't know how many cars the target has already wrecked. MTF-1. Hold on, that's negative, Big Brother. ER is reporting that the target is outrunning their choppers. They can't get ahead of them. Big Brother. Then get them to stop the motorist on the other lane. I don't know how many people have to see this thing's face die. End of log. The first 3 elements of Tau-1, or also known as the MTF teams that were searching for him, succeeded in gathering all the town folks in the first 3 towns without incident. The viewer was confirmed to not be in any of these towns when SCP-096 ran through each one of them without stopping. Moving away from the MTF's perspective, we hop over to a researcher reviewing the incident. Show me the incident. Begin log. Helmet camera footage from Element 4 of MTF-1 in the town of Data Expunged. Most of the townspeople are gathered in the square, blindfolded. Helicopters sweep into the town. Indistinct orders are heard over a loudspeaker from both the helicopters and the ground personnel. MTF Tau 1 says over the radio, the target is entering the proximity zone. All units are to activate scramble gear and begin crowd control procedures. All civilians are not to move from their spot or remove their blindfolds. If you move or touch your blindfold, I will shoot you. I repeat, all civilians are... The civilians begin shrieking, drowning out the sounds. Approximately 2 kilometers away, SCP-096 is seen to be coming over the crest of the hills. It tries to slow down the descent, but trips and tumbles down at a high speed of rate, crashing through several houses after regaining its footing almost without delay. The shouting over the loudspeakers now become more frantic. The MTF once again begins shouting, "Civilians, do not move. You will be shot." But it's too late. Several shots are heard, none of which are directed at SCP-096. It then stops for 1 second before running into the crowd of town folks, throwing many aside and trampling more, ripping them apart. More shots are heard as the crowd begins to disperse. The loudspeakers, unintelligible under the vocalizations of SCP, screams. This SCP then locates the viewer, a middle-aged town man, and the camera views SCP grabbing him before it is hit by a fleeing townsperson and dislocated from the helmet. The viewer of SCP was identified. Major Jack Wilford, a member of the MTF-1 Tau Squad, investigates his house. He discovers that, during a mountaineering trip, he took a photo of a landscape. Apparently, he took a snapshot of this landscape and just happened to catch SCP-096 in the background before ever looking at the photo again. Essentially, what caused the SCP-096 breach was 4 pixels of a landscape picture. We're now going to move forward to the after-interview logs between Major Jack Wilford and the interviewee. I'm only going to go over what I consider is important to the article, and you may hear me bleeping certain words out because there is a lot of swear words. Wilford says, 4 pixels. 4 effing pixels. I doubt the guy even knew what he saw. He was probably just looking at the picture one day, noticed an off-color patch of snow, and went on with his day. Interviewee, how did you find it? Major Jack Wilford, our scramble gear picked it up right away. The lieutenant got the picture and took it down to the chopper before I ever got to even see it. By then, the damn monster has taken down Big Brother and had peeled open the former Major Striker. All hell was breaking loose. Interviewer, so the scrambler gear was ineffective? Wilford, ineffective? The goddamn scramblers were pieces of shit that almost killed my entire damn task force. You know, there's only 3 people alive other than me. All because some blank egghead thought of a state-of-the-art countermeasures to SCP-096 hostile reaction. You bloody idiots could have just put a bag over the target's head and be done with it. But no, we had to effing use state-of-the-art scramble. End of log. So, it seems that, based off the MTF's reactions, a lot of the MTF teams ended up dying because the researchers failed to actually create the proper counteractive equipment to save the individuals looking at SCP. We're going to continue moving forward here, skipping over some of the article, the quotes between each other, since it's just them arguing, but we're going to tell you exactly what went wrong. Dan says, Scramble was really an ingenious idea. However, it was a failure because we did not know how SCP-096 worked. You see, as the chip inside the scrambler picked up the SCP-096's facial features and began scrambling them, there was a split second of uninterrupted light flow between the retina. Computers are fast, but not as fast as light. So there was a split second image of SCP-096's direct face sent to your brain. It wasn't even consciously received, but apparently it was enough to trigger the action of SCP-096. So basically, the equipment that the Foundation created to keep their MTF safe just got them all killed. Now, moving forward to the actual individual who viewed SCP-096 and caused their breach. And that's the most disturbing part of this whole incident. The former individual who saw SCP-096, he took that picture 20 years ago. That's 20 years of that photo hanging there before he even saw it. Since then, the brain wasn't even aware he was viewing the face, and it triggered the reaction. How many people are out there? There can be ticking time bombs hidden literally anywhere in the world. How many photographs are out there containing SCP-096 just going unnoticed, waiting for a careful eye to view it? Obviously, with a gross breach of this size, the O5 Council is definitely going to get involved and review what occurred. Reaching the end of the audio recordings, it seems that the O5 have extensive evidence in regards to foul play. Let's get into it. Audio recording of the O5 hearing. O5-1. Upon reviewing your testimony and available footage in the confession of the late Dr. Oleksky, it is unanimously agreed of the O5 Council that you are to be terminated. Your part in the gross breach of SCP-096, Dr. Dan cuts him off. And I thought you, of the SCP Foundation, would know the meaning for the greater good. O5-1. Do not try my patience, Doctor. Given the incident's scope and potential, the O5 have approved your request for termination of SCP-096. However, given the lack of personnel with an understanding of 096, the termination will be entrusted to you under heavy guard and the personnel supervision of me. Your own termination will be scheduled at a later date. Horrible, Doctor. How could you knowingly? Honestly, it worked. It was only a matter of time until that happened in a major population center, and it wasn't controlled like I did. And it's a face spread over the world news. I can kill 096, but I've killed myself in the process. So, that was a lot of information. Let's summarize that for you. 096 eventually ended up breaching out of its containment cell. When it was sent out there, the MTF chased it down with a superficial technology called S.C.R.A.M.B.L.E. S.C.R.A.M.B.L.E. ended up not working, killing almost all the MTFs that hunted it down. S.C.R.A.M.B.L.E. prevented the light from reaching the retinas, but due to a bug, the light actually did reach the retinas, and it caused an unconscious viewing of SCP-096. From there, the O5 Council then conducted an investigation in which they found the main researcher, Dr. Dan, had actually orchestrated the release of SCP-096. Honestly, I have no idea how Dr. Dan managed to get that picture of SCP-096 and have that individual just so happen to look at it at the right time, but hey, this is a story, not a interview or an investigation, so let's just skip over that fact. So, Dr. Dan ended up orchestrating the breach of SCP-096, resulting in hundreds of people dying. The reason for doing so is because he believed that SCP-096 would eventually escape on its own and wreak more havoc. In order to show the O5 Council that it needed to be terminated now and to take him seriously, he orchestrated a breakout and a controlled murdering spree. Well, it ended up working for Dr. Dan, except he was also given a death sentence after SCP-096 is terminated. We're already at the end of the article here, so I'm going to go through one more audio log from the incident because I feel like it is the perfect understanding of what a regular person or a regular MTF agent was thinking, feeling, or seeing at the time of the breach. Since both of these individuals have their last names removed, I'm going to give them a fake initial for both their names. So it's going to be Captain A and Dr. B. Begin log. Captain A. It always sucks ass to get initial retrieval duty. You have no idea what the damn thing is capable of, what jacked up information the field techies can scrape up, and you're lucky if you even get the damn whole story. Honestly, they told us word for word. Bag and tag. Didn't tell us jack shit about not looking at the damn thing, that's for sure. Dr. B. Could you describe the mission for me, please? Captain A. Yeah, sorry. We had 2 choppers, one with my team and one with backup, Zulu 9B and Dr. Blank. Spotted the target about 2 clicks north of us on their patrol path. I'm guessing he wasn't facing our direction, or else he would have taken us out then and there. Dr. B. Your report says SCP-096 didn't react to the cold. It was negative blank degrees Celsius. Captain B cuts him off. Actually, it was blank negative degrees Celsius, colder. And yes, it was butt naked, and it didn't so much as shiver. Anyway, we'd landed, approached the target, and Corporal got ready to bag and tag in. That's when the doctor called me, and I turned to answer it. And that's what saved me. The target turned, and he saw my whole squad. Dr. B. That's when SCP-096 entered an agitated emotional state. An emotional, agitated state? That's quite a way of saying it through a tantrum. Yes, it became I got the willies there for a second. Dr. B. That's alright. No worries. Take your time. Captain A. Yeah, well, I never saw its face. My squad did. And they paid for it up the ass. Dr. B. Could you describe it a little more, please? Just a little? Captain A. He hesitates before answering. Yeah. It started screaming at us and crying. Not like an animal roaring, though. It sounded like a person. Exactly like a person. Really effing creepy. We started firing when it picked up Corporal and ripped off his leg. He was screaming for help, and anyway, we were blowing chunks out of the target round after round, and it didn't do jack shit. I almost lost it when it started. Data expunged. Dr. B. That's when you ordered the use of the AT-4 HEDT launcher? Captain A. Yeah, an anti-tank gun. I started carrying it ever since SCP-096 got loose and I had to deal with it. I've seen those tear through tanks like tissue paper, and it even did the same thing to the target. And it didn't even effing flinch. All it did was kept tearing apart my squad, but with half its torso gone. So, no structural damage? How many rounds did you say you fired into it? Captain A. At least 1,000? Maybe 2? Our door gunner kept his GAU 19 on it for at least 20 to 40 seconds. 20 effing seconds. That's 600 rounds of 50 caliber rounds pumped into the thing. We might as well have been spitting at it. Dr. B. Is this when Zulu 9B arrived? Captain A. Yeah, and my whole squad was gone. Zulu 9B managed to get the bag over its head and it just sat down like nothing happened. We got into the chopper and got it here. I honestly don't know how I never saw its face. Maybe God or Buddha, whoever thought I should see it. The jackasses. Dr. B. We have obtained an artist's depiction of SCP-096's face. Would you be able to look and review it for us? Captain A. You know what? After hearing that thing screams and the screams of my men, and hearing and remembering my dreams, I don't think I want to put a face to what I heard. No. In the audio, chairs are heard moving, and Captain A leaves the room. Dr. B then says into the microphone, "Let this be a record that I am formally requesting SCP-096 be terminated as soon as possible." That leads us to the end of this article. Let's go over a summary. SCP-096 is an extremely skinny humanoid lacking any muscles with extremely long arms It is taller than the average human being, and its jaw can extend about 4 times the average size of a human. It is unknown how it knows that an individual has seen its face, but as much as 1 pixel is enough to send it into a frenzy. After the individual has been killed, it will return to a docile state, leading it to be able to be recaptured by the SCP Foundation. Based off of interviews of the MTF agents who have interacted with SCP-096, it is invincible, takes no damage, and even though it does take damage, it's not felt by the creature, and it will continue to just move forward with killing its target. That being said, thank you so much for giving me your time today, and if you're still listening, please consider subscribing, commenting, or liking my channel, and letting me know what other SCPs you'd like me to cover or real stories in the future. Thank you, and have a great rest of your night.